Hey YouTube, it is league turnover today, so it is two great leagues that are on. I'm going to be going over the top open great league teams through PvP Poke, and a bunch of content creators already hit legend, so I've got a bunch of their teams plus some of my teams. So stay tuned for that in this video. And if you want to play Fantasy Cup, I did a video this morning for the top teams there. So for PvP Poke, it's one of the best resources for GBL. A lot of the time people just use Great League rankings, right? So here's your basic rankings for Great League. These rankings have not changed much over the past couple seasons. Not surprising, you got your super meta Pokemon that you see everywhere, like Annihilate and Skarmory and Mantine and Feraligatr and Quagsire, right? Gligar. This is just a Azumarill. Very, very obvious that the top meta Pokemon are also top ranked. They do have a train in the tabs on the top. They have a train and a top performers. So if you go to train top performers, it gives you the individual averaging performance of these Pokemon, and like they give you some of the top Pokemon, and it usually does mostly coincide with what you see on the front page, right? So you got Lantern, Quagsire, Carbink, Registeel, Clodsire, right? A lot of the Pokemon you see. If you go down all the way, they give you some top performing teams based on their simulation. So right, you have right off the bat Skarmory, Gligar, Quagsire as the number one team, which is a very strong team that I've covered variations of twice. It is a double flyer team with the Skarmory and Quagsire core, right? So just to give you an idea, if you're sort of new to GBL, Skarmory and Swampert were the OG core because with a save swap, where Skarmory was only weak to grass, and Swampert was only weak to grass, and Skarmory as a flyer steel double resisted grass, and then Skarmory is weak to electric, and Swampert resisted electric, right? So now you have Quagsire, which is kind of ranked better than Swampert. And as a save swap, they use Gligar, and Gligar works because the double flyer strategy works very well in this meta because there's a lot of Annihilates and stuff like that. And as long as one of those flyers is Gligar to resist the electric, you are good. So that is a top performing team. So it just gives you ideas for teams there. But if you want other team ideas, hit the subscribe button because we put out like just 14 teams a week. So lots of teams, lots of options, lots of showcases from subscribers and some of my own. And there's other content creators who have put out their legend teams because apparently a ton of content creators have hit legend except me. So let's look at some of these content creators with the teams that they used to hit legend. So this is a home slice team they used: Vigoroth, Whiscash, and Tropius. And again, this is not super surprising, this core, right? Whenever you get a Mudboy weak to, like, Mudboys are, I think, the easiest to build against. When I say Mudboy, Quagsire, Whiscash, Swampert are your Mudboys. They're the very easiest to build with because they are only weak to one thing, and that is grass. So as long as you cover your grass weakness, you are good. Tropius is a flyer grass, so that will very much handle all the grass Pokemon. And then the safe swap on the lead here is Vigoroth, and Vigoroth is actually quite strong in this meta. I've showcased it a couple times on some teams, and I've used it, I think, once in the open, and it is keep it away from Annihilate, but otherwise it is very, very strong. A definite upgrade with that Rock Slide there. Rise hit legend with this team: Jellicent, Shadow A9, and Reggie. Jellicent's a really interesting one. So Jellicent was everywhere during the Remix Cup. It has a little less play in open, which is kind of surprising because there is like Annihilate, but you can hit super effective. I mean, Annihilate can hit super effective against you as well. But there's like the Mudboys, which you do like decent against, and there's Gligar, which you get super effective with Surf, and then there's there's a lot of Pokemon that it does well against. You basically have two answers for fighters on this team, right? You have Jellicent and Ninetales. Ninetales is running Powder Snow, so depending on the fighter, it's a little more neutral there. And then Registeel as your Pokemon that can also kind of deal with steals, because Ninetales is going to have a problem with steals, and then you got at least Focus Blast on the Reggie. So that was Rise's team. And then this was Yonkis's team that he just put out that he hit legend with. It is Unova, Stunfisk, and Dugong, and Wiggly. So kind of an interesting. I was gonna say interesting. The Stunfisk is interesting. The Dugong and Wiggly are not interesting. Dugong and Wiggly are like two of the top meta Pokemon in the Great League because they are both kind of bulky. Wiggly is just your best charm user at this point in this meta. Running it with Swift there, the new move. And then Dugong is one of your OG safe swaps. And then the like Legacy Ice Shard, I see Win there. Just bulky, draw run for steals, draw run for electric. Gives you coverage there. The Stunfisk is kind of unique. You know, with the Mud Boys, you can at least go Mud Bomb. You have Skarmories out there. You got a lot of Carbanks and stuff. So it makes sense why it works. Vergiverg just put out one legend team that he hit and then one like top leaderboard team from someone else. So Gligar, Quagsire, and for Alligator. So this is ABB style team. You are likely safe swapping for Alligator. Yep, especially with Crunch, that gives you a little more coverage for your as a safe swap. So for Alligator safe swap, or actually not safe swap, it's kind of a safe swap, but it's also to draw out a grass. You're basically trying to draw out a grass, draw out an electric. I mean, you don't need to draw an electric. You're mostly just trying to draw out a grass and then beating it with Gligar, and then your Quagsire roams free. So double water in the back. You got three things. You got all three can hit steals. You got a couple answers for Gligar. You can kind of combo Annihilate. Notice the Mud Bomb. I agree. I think Mud Bomb is better on Quagsire. I TM'd off my Stone Edge for Mud Bomb, so I think it actually is an upgrade. So you can spam a bit more. So that was the one he showcased, and then he showcased like a top leaderboard. Yeah, this was a front page leaderboard. Gudra, Ninetales with Charm and Defense Deoxys. So it's kind of, I was gonna say unique. I was gonna say weird team. It's not a team that you would typically think to put together. And it's a lot of people are starting to do this now. So I'll talk about that in 1 second. But putting your sort of safe swap on the lead, which I talked about like 4 seasons ago. So Charm Ninetales is gonna have problem with steals, counter user Defense Deoxys. Gudra weak to ice, Ninetales can deal with that. So they kind of all cover each other's weaknesses to a certain extent. Charm may be a little tough, but you have your own charm user, and then Defense Deoxys is not a fighter. The best safe swap on this team is Gudra. And Gudra is on the lead with the legacy move, Thunder Punch, and then with the spammy Octail. So Gudra is like a top safe swap. And you saw Vigoroth on the lead with Home Slice, right? Or at least it's the first one listed. Usually it's you list them according to their lead in the battles there. And Jellicent, you can argue, is a pretty good safe swap. Stunfisk is not. So that's the only one that's kind of off there. And Gligar is a good safe swap too. This is something that I said about 4 seasons ago. So if you go back through my history of GBL, watch my early videos. They're very much balanced team safe swap. Swampert, Skarmory, Sableye, Lickitung safe swap. Play that out. You lose the lead. You try fight hard on the switch and go out there. About 3 or 4 seasons ago, I started running all my safe swaps on the lead. And my thought process at the time for running all those on the lead was, you know, if you're running a balanced team, it's very obvious what you're doing. And not only that, if you can't win switchback, there's a good chance that you're just going to lose anyways, right? So if you have that sort of example, Swampert, Skarmory core, you have a Swampert lead and you get hit with a grass, and then you say swap a Sableye, and then you get hit with like a Zoom roll where you can't flip switch or something like that, or a Wiggly where you just can't flip switch. You're likely to be beaten on the back end anyways. So what I started doing was running those safe swaps on the lead where you don't have a ton of bad matchups, and you can like kind of decide right out of the gate, do I want to fight for switch? Do I want to fight for shield advantage? Do I want to fight for energy advantage? Like how do I want to play this matchup out? So that's what I started doing. That's what others are starting to do too. I don't know if, again, I'm not saying anywhere near I started it, but it's just a different way of thinking from how team building used to be in the past. So let's go over a couple teams that I showcased in, I think, one of my teams. So Lantern, this was the team that I just showcased yesterday afternoon. because this was a subscriber who just hit legend for the 10th straight season. Lantern, Vigoroth, Wiggly. Again, I kind of already covered Wiggly as one of the best charmer in this league right now. Vigoroth was an OG safe swap. Again, I think it's a little trickier with all the Annihilape running around. You can just get walled. You don't have no moves for Annihilape. And then running the Water Gun Lantern instead of the Spark. I've seen a few Water Gun Lanterns recently. Again, Water Gun is a big improvement for a lot of Pokemon that are in the meta, right? So you have Gligar, which you'll know who's super effective against. You can hit neutral against the Mud Boys, hit super effective against Carbink, super effective against Bastiodon with Water Gun. So there's a lot of good play with Water Gun Lantern. I noted in the video there was no grass in the video, but I'm like, grass, especially grass poison, is going to be a very, very, very tricky Pokemon to overcome. And the last two, I'm going to just kind of flash them because they're the same core with a different middle. So Gligar, Charjabug, Annihilape, and Gligar, Charjabug, and Empoleon. So it's funny because one's my team. This one's my team with the Empoleon because you can see I can see my 0, 15, 15 Charjabug IVs. And then this one is a subscriber with a 1, 8, 15 IV. So two different teams. Same idea with the core. Charjabug is, and actually let's just focus on my team because I said Annihilape is a great answer for a third as well. But I basically said in my title video, one of the best flyers in this meta, the best electric in this meta, and one of the best steals in this meta. So Gligar is one of the best flyers, top two, I would say, besides Skarmory and Gligar. So just have that coverage with Dig for steals. That's why I like Gligar. Charjabug is now top two electric. It's Lantern and Charjabug. Pick your order based on what you think is better, but Charjabug has the bulk and a good, nice Volt Switch, and then Discharge X Scissor combo. And then Empoleon is probably like top 3 to 5 steal, I would say, in this meta at this point. So put them all together pretty well. And then, hey, if you don't want the top 3 to 5 top steal, the number one fighter in this meta is also not a bad option to give you a little more coverage for the Rock and Bastiodons and Carbinks that your Charjabug will be weak to in the back. So those are some team ideas. You will see, I actually have, it's funny. I just talked about like, oh, I'm switching it up. I'm using my safe swap on the lead. And you're very much going to see a Swampert lead with a Lickitung safe swap and Charjabug in the back coming from me in the near future because that is the team that I'm finished Great League with this week. So I will showcase that in the next few days coming up here I saw a bunch of your videos submitted. So I will go over a bunch of those videos next week because, again, it is Great League. So showcase a bunch of Great League. If you want to send me some fantasy cups, I'll probably showcase a couple. I'm going to do a poll just to see what people are playing. I've got to imagine most will default to Open Great League just for when you're in a limited cup with only 3 typings. It's a little trickier. The meta is a lot smaller and it gets stale pretty quickly. So I feel like we're just going to do a couple fantasy cups early in the week, and then it's probably going to be a lot of Great League that you guys have submitted. So that's the plan. Open to change. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you're new, and I will see you guys in the next one.